to manage a network of internal sites. A pretty common question we got coming from companies maintaining multiple sites at once, or media businesses with multiple publishing websites and other forms of organizations that have to maintain several sites at once. The main question they've got is, okay, those websites look alike more or less, or there are some commonalities between them. What are the best ways to offload them, outsource them, work with maintenance companies, development companies, or our internal teams to make sure we manage them efficiently? Here are several steps that you need to consider when you need to offload your websites to a third-party vendor or build the right team in-house. Number one, unify the hosting setup as much as possible. It's a common thing for us to find that a company has 5 or 6 or 7 websites at a time, and all of them, or at least half of them, are hosted with a different hosting vendor. Now, this tends to make maintenance a lot more complicated, because when you start to unify specific segments and specific components of the websites, it's a lot harder to make sure that they're running the same setup and that this setup is running efficiently and consistently across different hosting vendors. So one of the first things you can do is try to partner up with a hosting partner, which enables you to actually run all of those websites on the same ecosystem. Number 2 is schedule plugin and theme updates on regular intervals. So this could be done in one of the following 2 ways. Either do all of the updates at the same time. Let's say you book one day and you say all updates are going to occur throughout this day, or instead you say every week we're going to update 1 or 2 websites in order to make sure that if something goes south, we are not going to crash all the sites at the same time. So in any case, try to maintain this kind of schedule. This would enable your team, either in-house or the outsourcing company you're working with, to plan that ahead of you, together with you and ahead of time, so that you can achieve the best results possible. Number 3 is make sure you've got staging setup available for every single website. Now, this is one of the biggest mistakes I hear here. Whenever you have a production website, you don't want to mess up with production right away. Even if it's a small website, 99% of the time you don't want to crash a production website for one reason or another. Or if it's a production website, odds are you're going to be afraid to perform security updates or other maintenance checks, which may jeopardize this website in itself, and this is going to be pretty dangerous when it comes to running this website in production. This may actually hack this website. A malicious user may actually hack this website, and at the end of the day, you're going to end up in a pretty tough position of disadvantage simply because you haven't maintained the staging environment for your website. So whenever you decide on a hosting vendor, either make sure they support staging by default, like for example, it's kind of a one-click thing, or there's an easy way to just clone this website and create a staging instance that you can play with and use as a sandbox. Number 4, consider mass update solutions or auto-update on the staging installs. Now, there are certain scripts and systems like Managed IOP or Infinite IOP or so, and a bunch of other different tools as well, that allow you to connect multiple websites to the same dashboard and update them at the same time. Or alternatively, you can use a plugin for automatic updates of your plugins and themes at all times. Or you can talk to your hosting provider to ensure that your staging installs are up to date at all times. What this would do is, first off, you're going to be safe from security vulnerabilities for your staging websites. And second, you may save some time by updating staging installs, let's say daily or every few days or so, with a click of a button, and then going through each one of them and performing the QA tests required to ensure that your installation is working as expected. So consider that sometimes it may actually take more time than doing it yourself. Sometimes updates are tough, which means that your development team has to understand what does the changelog include and what exactly is going to be updated, and whether it is a safe update or whether you need to alter some of your existing code base or so. But in any case, make sure that you research those options and figure out if it's something that you can use yourself. Number 5 rather, is set up uptime monitoring solutions. Now, especially if you decide to use automatic update solutions like, again, Managed IOP or one of the other options, or automatic plugin updates on WordPress, odds are every now and then your websites may be down due to an unsuccessful update or an insecure update or something else that happened with your installation. So in order to avoid your downtime being a common thing or not noticing this breakdown or downtime, what you can do is set up uptime monitoring solutions such as Uptime Robot or some other tools that let you know if a website is down, like if it's throwing a 4xx error or 5xx error or something else that's crashing your website. So in that case, if something really goes out and your entire website is down, you would be able to resolve this problem, and or at least not resolve, but understand that this has happened and prioritize it and get back on track and get the problem solved. Now, of course, there are more productive ways to make it happen, and when working with a professional development company or a maintenance shop, whenever updates are being performed, there's a monitoring team, there's a QA team, updates can be reverted, there are backups of the installation, you can, revert to a previous backup, you can check out the previous version of the copy, there's a database backup, lots of different things that are a necessity for larger websites, meaning that larger websites cannot afford to go through this process. But in any case, you can at least start with the basic foundations at first, before you opt in for a bigger plan that takes more time and requires more additional services from your development team. Number 6 is try to extract some common code libraries or functions within the same stack, and also consider things like theme unification or using the same plugins across the board. Now, it's possible that your websites are using the same features, but at the same time, they're not necessarily using, for example, the same plugins or the same themes or kind of the same stack across the board, which would mean that maintenance would be harder, while this is not necessarily something that you need to deal with. What do I want to say here? For example, we bought a couple of different SaaS businesses over the past year. One of them was using WooCommerce for e-commerce, and the other one was using Easy Digital Downloads for e-commerce. Now, in theory, both businesses were dealing with selling stuff. However, one of the businesses had one plugin and the other another plugin dealing with e-commerce. The problem is that every single solution we had to adapt and introduce on top of that, such as affiliate and connecting to affiliate marketing networks, or VAT calculations for the European Union and things like that, or generating invoices on the fly or so forth. We're requiring different solutions as well. So at the end of the day, you would have ended up with different groups of plugins instead of unifying all of that together. So if possible, try to unify that, try to make it common, try to make it consistent so that ongoing updates are easier as well. Number 7, use submodules or MU plugins as needed. Again, if possible, try to unify all of these so that whenever you update one site, it's easier to update the other sites at the same time. So consider must-use plugins, consider plugins that are synced across the network, consider deployment processes where when you push to one of the websites, it automatically gets deployed to the other websites as well. All of those practices aim to simplify the development process or save some time when development is being done, to distribute that across multiple websites instead of deploying to every single site individually, independently, and kind of wasting time on individual deployments as well. Last step, number 8, is consider WordPress Multisite. WordPress Multisite is a really handy feature that allows you to run a network of sites with the same WordPress database, however, breaking down the information into separate tables. This means that whenever you update a plugin, it updates across the entire network automatically. When you update a theme, more or less the same thing happens, and you can also run separate themes across the different installations. Additionally, you can use the same user to access different websites, so it could be really handy if WordPress Multisite is something that works for you. If you have a lot of ongoing development, again, this would save a lot of time because introducing new features, new layouts, new libraries, new anything could be done for the network, and then it automatically applies to the multi-site. So that's all. That's a recap of how to manage a portfolio of internal projects. Of course, there are lots of different ways to make it professionally, but that's a good starting ground. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below.